Hello everyone and welcome to today's cryptocurrency update for April 18, 2022. It is a new week. I'm super excited. I think things are moving along quite nicely. And as you can see, I have also updated the first slide. Instead of the usual, I am going to try to find a picture that aligns with the title of the update. So far, only a few minor tweaks. And then we have some very tiny minor tools. So let's go straight to the charts because, as I said, a few minor tweaks are necessary, if even that. Let's start with Cardano, good old Cardano. All right, we topped here in, if it was not for August last year, and I still view this as a B, C of a larger B wave bounce, where the ideal B of B target zone was here between $1.06 and I believe $1.87, the 76.4% retrace. So far, this looks pretty good. We've bottomed so far, right, at the lower end of this target zone. And now, if this is setting up nicely, if we can hold today's low, that is pretty much for everything, then we have some nice positive divergences in place. As you can see here on the RSI 5, price went lower on less strength, so to say. And we can see the same here on the MACD, a little bit on the money flow, and a little bit on the full stochastic. So this looks pretty good as long as we can hold the low. Oh, we can even go below it, but so far we've bottomed in this ideal target zone. That's what I like, 76.4% retrace. Okay, so nothing out of the ordinary here. This is the 76.4% retrace level. So this is really typical Fibonacci stuff. I don't have the number for it, but it's pretty much today's low. So you can see these Fibonacci levels are critically important for the markets. They always have and they always will. It's simply a matter once A tops, you don't know where B exactly is going to bottom. 38.2, 50, 62%, 76.4, 88.4, or 88.6. It is all possible. We can even have an irregular B wave of a irregular flat wave B. Remember, B waves are corrective patterns. So then they can take on a zigzag, a triangle, or a flat. Now assume that today's low is holding. I don't have any data yet to say that is true. Then we can go and move towards forecasting the target. So if the length of wave A, assuming we have topped, then we can see wave C of B should ideally top here. Still well within this ideal B wave target zone. Don't know of any extensions, none of that good stuff. So simply put, as long as today's low holds, B of B can be considered complete. Super easy. With the caveat, of course, that a B wave can become irregular. So these are the treacherous parts of any analysis and any market, the B wave of a B wave. B wave by themselves are already tricky. Then this one can be even more tricky, because what can we get as well if the B wave goes below here and then we get a C wave back to the start of the A wave, or the end of the A wave, sorry. It is all very possible. So please be mindful that these are very treacherous markets at the moment. And please be mindful where price is in relationship to the moving averages, as I've pointed out in Friday's update. Remember that we are still in a bear market setup, right? Price is below the 50-day, the 200-day, all those things. So please keep that in mind. But so far, so good. Minor tweak necessary? Not even. Binance Coin, all right? Binance Coin, I had the same pattern, A, B, and now in wave C of B. We're holding a little bit higher than Cardano in the ideal B wave target zone. We're holding last week's low. I mentioned if we go below last week's low, we're gonna drop this far, potentially. Now we still need to break out above 440, okay? I wanna see price break above 440 to trigger the green arrow, 440. We haven't done it yet. Now let's assume that the low is going to hold, which is at about 390, right? 390 needs to hold. There needs to hold to allow for higher prices. And we're holding it so far. Today did not do any damage. And we need to break out above 440. Not the Z wave, the C wave. Target zone. Very, very simple. There. Now assume we've bottomed for wave B of B. Same kind of setup as for Cardano. Then we can say, okay, what are then the upside potentials? Well, we have the length of wave A right there. That is the length of wave A. And then C waves are often anywhere, ideally between 1 time to 1.6.8. It can truncate, it can do 0.764. Okay, it can do a 0.764 or even a 0.618. It can. So we're gonna increase the target zone. That is here with the ideal, I would say somewhere around here. That would be ideal. I have no indication or information yet that is going to be the case. That would be a breakout above 440. Super simple, but it's starting to look pretty decent. Looks pretty decent. Bitcoin. Bitcoin from a timing perspective is right at the 15-day cycle. 15-day cycle doesn't work all the time, but it works reasonably well for picking out important highs and lows. Okay, so we had the recent early April turn here, which was the high. So now we're at the mid-April turn, which is about a low potentially. Okay, so that aligns reasonably well. Then we have the wave count I showed you earlier last week, I think on Wednesday, where I was counting 5 waves lower and then a bounce. We did get a lower low today compared to where we were last week, but the close so far and the candle so far looks still pretty good for a wave 2, a 3, 4, and 5. We really need to move above, I would say, 46 to 48,000 to suggest this wave count is wrong. All it requires here is a few minor tweaks, that we simply move the wave 5 to here. Okay, and that's about it. Can even be an irregular A, B, C of wave 2 as well. That's very possible. So we'll just keep it as is. I would say now, because what we are dealing with here is price that hasn't gone anywhere since today, Sunday, Saturday, Friday, Thursday, Wednesday. It's all pretty much the same. And that always leaves the door open to interpretation. So what this could have been, for example, is a wave A here. This could be an A wave top. And this is a good example then, there in blue. This is then a B wave of a irregular flat wave 2. Two waves, or second waves is the better, are similar to B waves. They are made up of 3 waves, corrective, and can be a zigzag, a flat, or a triangle. And this is then the irregular B wave, as I mentioned, for Cardano as a potential, and even for Binance Coin as a potential. Okay, so this is my interpretation of the price action. It's not necessarily the correct. I like it that we had a classic impulse lower, then we had a bounce. This looks like 3 waves lower into today's high. So we're really trying to figure out the nitty gritty. And then we should see soon a nice bounce develop, I would say, somewhere to this target. So it could be the lower end, could be the higher end. We will see exactly where it is, but this looks like a good C wave target zone. So this just once again show you how complex bounces can be. Okay, now let's say then that we're not going to get as high as we want to go. Let's say we're just going to stall here in the middle, all right, somewhere here. Don't know yet, right? This is all assumptions at the moment. So kind of taking things out of thin air. Then wave 3 should be bottoming here. Wave 4 should be bottom here. Again, these are pretty much minor tweaks, right? We had this, and now we have this. It's a little bit more price data becomes available. We'll tweak it accordingly, and there we then have a similar price pattern. It's just tweaked a little bit more with newer price data available. Resistance remains here, of course, at about 44,000, somewhere in this area. We have, of course, resistance here as well. So let's put this resistance band somewhere there. This is resistance. So that aligns quite nicely with this C wave of wave 2. I know it's very busy, so to say. And of course, we need to break out to become bullish. Okay, so please keep this in mind. Again, I think the price action over the last few days, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 trading days shows how complex a wave 2 or a B wave can become. So please keep that in mind. As long as we hold today's low, we can move higher for this wave 2. If we start breaking, I would say above 46, 47,000, something else might be going on. I don't see that just yet. What I do like here is similar to the other indexes that we might start to see a little bit of positive divergence. But divergence is only a condition. It is not yet a signal. Now we need to see price develop on it. Looks good. So those are the minor tweaks that I mentioned. Very minor tweaks, nothing out of the ordinary. We are pretty much back to where we were. So this is Sunday, Saturday, Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday. We're pretty much back to where we were Tuesday a week ago. So there's not a lot has happened, right? It shows you that honestly, cryptocurrencies can do two things, jack and you know what, over a very extended period of time. And that happens for most assets. They don't move much. Don't have to. It's not always a 10% rally like the one in Luna we're going to get to in a moment. This is Ethereum, I believe. Ethereum also a little tiny minor tweak here. Instead of the bottom at last week's low, I'll move the bottom to today's low. Looks pretty good as well. Can be wave 5 of 1, can be wave B of wave 2. All of it considered minor tweak means the downside targets are only tweaked minorly as well, a little bit lower. And that's about it. The same pattern remains. I see no reason to change my tune. This still looks similar. It is simply a matter of letting price fill in. I like today's candle so far. I know we have a couple hours left. We're getting really oversold on a lot of indicators. So it is bounce time. And the target zone for wave 2 is simply based on ideal patterns, and nothing has to be ideal. We can bounce all the way here to about 3,400 if it wants to, and it can stall here at 3,000 if it wants to. I have too little price information. So all I'm showing here is the ideal bounce target zone before we can move lower. This remains my preferred view. If we, for whatever reason, start to break out here, then I'll have to change my tune, okay? What I'd like to see here is this pattern, of course, develop. Something like this, similar to Bitcoin, something like this. And how does it align with Binance Coin and Cardano? It doesn't, and doesn't have to, okay? Each and every one on their own. It doesn't have to. And if it does align, so be it. We change accordingly. This is so far a reasonably standard impulse pattern, in my humble opinion. So I like it. I have a few minor tweaks necessary, a little bit lower than we were on Tuesday, and that is about it. Luna, look at that. Now that's a big, massive candle for today. That looks really good. I was on Tuesday looking for higher prices already. What did we get? Pretty much a add-on of lower, and that is started to look a little bit better for what I would call downsides, surprises, and upside disappointments. Still believe we've topped here for wave 3, and today's low should be wave A. I simply tweak a little bit things to the lower end, anticipate, monitor, adjust. It's a minor difference compared to where we were early last week. And now we should be in this B wave. B waves always become 3 waves. And we simply have to wait and see how this exactly is going to fill itself in. So then this should be something like this. Again, if it can become a flat, we can even go all the way back almost to the all-time high. It's very possible. I'm just showing you here what the ideal, I would say, retrace target zones here are. That is based on a simple zigzag. Again, B waves can be zigzags, flats, or triangles. We start off with the zigzag, that is the anticipation. Then we monitor it to see if it turns into something else. This can still be very possible. And then we have simply wave A of B now underway, something like this. And then we get wave B of B soon. And then we get a wave C of B, because B waves are always three waves, always. Now let's assume this is going to be a standard zigzag, something like this, very possible. Then we have wave A completed. And then let's say we have a standard CSA relationship, something like this would be very, very normal to see. So that brings us back to the upper end of this ideal target zone we already had. So this is very possible. And of course, wave C can extend, but I think this is for now the ideal anticipated path forward. Simply had to move the labels a little bit more towards today's low, not too much of a difference compared to where we were early last week. We tagged on simply another set of waves, downside surprises. That's quite typical for a bear market. And now we should be in this nice bounce. Again, this is an anticipated path. I have way too little information to really nail it down, but I honestly like it. I like it. As more information becomes available, we can start narrowing it down. So now I can already start narrowing down this blue path. I think it's already a lot better than what I had early last week, and so far so good. I like it. Solana, how are we doing on Solana? Solana is also bottoming exactly where it should, at the 76.4% retrace. Again, here in red is where a B wave should bottom in this large zone. You can't narrow it down. It's just impossible. And then we have the ideal here. I can make it a little bit thicker red, where we expect most of the retraces to bottom. That's simply the highest odds. And from there, we then expect the bounce. Now let's assume wave B is completed. Simple and same as Cardano. Okay, so we reach the upside target here, boom. Okay, now let's assume we have completed the retrace. Then where is wave C going to? Top, there. Okay, we don't know yet. Can be this high, this much. So this is where wave C should, and then ideally I would say probably somewhere there. Same here. Today's. Sorry for the typing. I have a cut on my finger, so it's a little hard to type. I like it so far. This doesn't look too impulsive to me to the downside, and now we can start to look for upside. Again, this B wave can go lower. Okay, it's still very possible. We're in the trickiest parts of the markets, and as I showed you on Friday with the moving averages, please keep that in mind that we are in bear markets. So downside surprises and upside disappointment. I can't say it often enough. We've reached the lower end of the ideal B wave target zone. And so far, as you can see, the 76.4% retrace did exactly what it had to. So quick recap. Cardano bottomed so far where it had to, should now be in this B wave bounce. What does it take for this B wave bounce? I really want to see it go back above, I would say $1.06, and then we can target $1.32 till $1.60. Okay. We have nice positive divergences, but that's a condition, not a signal. Same here for Binance Coin. Binance Coin bottomed at the 50%. As long as 390 holds, and then it targets above 440, we can then move into these target zones. Bitcoin, same deal. Looks like it has a 15-day cycle low. and should now be in a larger bounce for a couple of days before heading lower. That is still my anticipated path. I don't have any information yet. Once we bottom or top here in this target zone and we break, of course, below today's low, then this is fully operational. If we start moving higher, then we have to look for these levels, and we have a much more complex B wave on our hands than originally anticipated. B waves are intensely tricky, so we'll have to take it day by day. These are the hardest parts of any market at the moment, corrective price action, especially corrective of corrections. Same for Ethereum. We moved the label a little bit further to the right. Minor tweak. It's honestly having it instead of last week's low at this week's low is fine. It's such a minor tweak. Should still follow this path. If we start breaking above 3,400, I have to reconsider that this larger B wave is still unfolding and becoming even more complex. It's not my preferred view, but we have to remain open-minded. Luna, same as well. Had to adjust the wave count to today's low and not yet at early last week's low. Minor difference is the difference between, I would say here, just 81 and today's low is 76. It's not that much. And it's like 5% difference. That's about it. And Solana, same deal here. Finally bottomed where it really should for a ideal typical B wave bounce. And if we can get back above, I would say 118, 120, then I think we can start looking for those upside targets. So 120. And as long as we hold today's low, it looks like a nice candle. But there are, of course, no guarantees. Looks like a nice candle. Wave count looks pretty complete as well. So above 120, and we can target 160 to 180. So we have the conditions now. Again, we also have here positive divergence development. So we have all the conditions in place. Look how oversold it is. We have all the conditions in place, and now we need to see the trigger. And the trigger is for me above 120. Very oversold, everything, so that looks good. So really, that is all there is to it for today. I think the short term starts to look better. I didn't update the summary slide. It's minor tweaks, as I said. So everything is aligning very nicely. As long as we can hold today's lows, we can start looking for bounces to develop. I still have this bearish count on Bitcoin and Ethereum. It remains my preferred view because we had this impulse lower. Not necessary for Cardano, Binance, Solana, and the other ones, Luna as well. Once more price data becomes available, we can narrow down that bounce also before we should start looking lower for the C wave. And everything else is tracking along quite nicely, I would say, on a shorter term. And we'll see if we can get any surprises, meaning either breakouts to the upside or breakdowns below today's low. If we break down below today's low, the downside is already started to kick in quicker than I anticipated. That's all I have for today. If you have any questions, please let me know. All the numbers are on the charts for you to use for your advantage. Take care, trade safe, and I'll see you all on Wednesday. Bye.